All right. So, Lisa, good to see you. How are you?
Hey, Spencer. It's been a while. It's
You
been a
look
minute.
good. It's been a long time
It
for
has.
sure. It's good to see
I
you.
missed you.
So, we reconnected here. You see me on social media. You know some of the things I've been going through and doing professionally and personally. And you had mentioned to me that you have some thoughts and experiences and people and that deal with estate planning or topics that are related to it, and you had your own story that you wanted to kind of share with me, and um, wanted to record that and have it shared with some other people. Hopefully it affects them, so I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, well, I've been in the senior industry for, a few years. So I think I know a lot, right? Because, um,
Hmm.
and so, my grandma is older. I had to move her into a nursing home. So my friend helped me through that, who has knowledge, do this, do that, get a power of attorney, get a healthcare proxy. Those are important things because when she's no longer able to take care of herself, somebody has to take care of her.
Oh, if she becomes incapacitated and can't make her own
Yeah,
decisions.
yeah, right. And you have to make that decision before she becomes incapacitated,
Yeah, sure.
right?
It's amazing to me on a daily basis. I come across with people that know that but have nothing in place,
Mm-hmm.
or not the right
Yeah,
things in place because they just didn't know.
yeah. Well, I mean, my grandma was 96.
Awesome.
She was pretty old and still had the capacity to make those decisions for herself.
Wow.
So, but I mean, we weren't there. My grandma lives in Massachusetts. I live in Arkansas. I see her once every couple of years. And so you
Right.
can't see the decline happen. We don't really know what's going on.
Well, and
But
most people
yeah,
don't want to deal with it. They don't want to think about it. It's hard stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it is because I think mortality is a hard thing for the mind to come to. Like, I
Right.
may not live forever. And then,
Even even though we know we're gonna die.
I know.
It's
But you
crazy.
definitely don't think it's going to happen today.
Mm-mm. And
Nobody thinks they're
oftentimes
going
it
to do it.
does.
Right. It could be our day today. I say that. That's why I like to live my life to the fullest. I'm not going to, it could be my last day on earth and I'm going to love doing this day. Every day, I'm going to love doing it. But, anyways, back to my grandma.
Right, right.
So, she's got to move into a nursing home. She broke her hip. This is about the fifth broken thing she's broken. So she's been to every nursing home in her county. Because
Wow.
when you break something, they send you to the
Mm.
hospital. The hospital dismisses you, but um, you can't go back until you can do the five things of daily living. I don't know what they are. It's like cooking,
Yeah. Yeah, they
cleaning,
assess you. Right,
showering, bathroom, whatever those things
right.
are.
Sure.
So they send you to a nursing home to do rehab. They take care of you while you're being able to grow your strength on your hip or your knee or whatever. So there she is. She's been to every one of them. So she knows exactly which one she wants to retire into full time. So
Right.
happens to be that the hip that she broke at 96, they put her in the place that she wanted to end up in. So that was great. She said that was where she wanted to stay. So I went there and packed all her stuff away in her house. I mean, there's a lifetime of things in her apartment, even though it was small, that all have to be dealt with. What do you want? What do you not want? What
Right.
can you bring into your nursing home? Not very much. Not
Yeah.
very much. But we
Clothes
did
and
get all
you.
that paperwork, huh?
Clothes and you.
Right? That's it. I mean, maybe a board on the wall with sticky pins that you can put pictures of your family on.
Sure.
Really, there's nothing
Yeah.
that of any value that you can bring in there because there's you we don't need to go there. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother episode. A day in the
yeah.
life of a nurse. So anyways, so I thought I had everything under control, got her in there, and she lived her last few lives there, last few years. And she seemed pretty happy. She seemed like she liked it. They had activities. They went out for, lunch, every other week. They played bingo. They had arts and crafts. She seemed to be pretty happy there.
Yeah.
And I thought I had everything, well established and knew what I was doing until she passed away.
You thought you had
So-
everything that you needed in place to deal with and have everything under control.
I did. I thought
Yeah.
that I had it all. I thought I knew it all. I
know.
guess I didn't.
The hard part for me, everybody I talk to on a daily basis thinks this stuff, and almost nobody I talk to has what they need in place.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was able to function with the power of attorney and the healthcare proxy.
Mhm.
And it's a job. It's a full-time job to take care of somebody, things happen. If she has a cold and they want to give her antibiotics, I have
Yeah.
to agree to that.
Yeah, right.
Whatever
Exactly.
treatments they do. It's a responsibility that you should take seriously. But I mean, I wanted to do that for my
Yeah,
grandma.
but it's also giving you the ability to be in control of who's making those decisions for her, as
Right.
opposed to the nursing home or the doctor that she's working with.
Right, because that is an option. She
Right,
could give the nursing home the directive to take care of her,
right.
But I'm glad that I could do that because I knew my grandma well enough that when she started to fall, I said, could you please check her for a bladder infection? Because usually when she falls, someone after that, they usually find that she had a bladder infection. So if you can
Huh.
just check for a bladder infection, maybe you'll find out sooner that she just had an infection that was causing her some problems mobility wise,
Right,
that her body couldn't be
Sure.
mobile and have an infection at the same time.
for sure.
So, I mean, I knew all of those things about her. And then they would want to give her some medicine. And I'm like, look, she just takes Tylenol. You can give her 2 Tylenol. Don't give her
Right.
anything else. She doesn't like that.
Right.
I was able to help her, last few years, maybe be a little bit better. So,
Well, bottom line is, I mean, what you're saying is you were able to control everything that happens with her with those decisions because you had certain things in place.
absolutely, until she passed away.
It's crazy when people don't have even those minimum things in place. They don't get to decide anymore.
Right.
People end up having to go to living probate. Did you know that? You know what living probate is?
I don't know what it is.
You see, I mean, you've gone through it and you don't know.
I
Living
don't.
probate. So probate, just so everybody understands, I try to teach it every day. Probate is in every state. Probate was created to prove a will. So if you have a will and you pass, it goes to probate. Okay.
Right.
To be proved. Now, what 80% of the country doesn't know what I just said. They just assume a will is what you need in place.
Right.
Totally opposite happens once you pass. Okay. Because a will goes through probate. Okay. Most people do a will to make sure they're control of having their affairs settled and making it easier on their surviving family when they pass to settle everything out. Well, it all has to go through probate if you have a will. Another layer of what we're talking about that people have no clue about is there's living probate. Okay. Living probate is the legal process put in place to make decisions for people if they don't have the proper plan in place with different documents and how things unfold and who controls it and who makes the decisions moving forward. While that, like your mother, she was alive, but she got to the point where she couldn't or didn't want to make those decisions anymore, where you got some certain parts of those things in place that gave you the ability to control and decide. If those are not done and done properly, people go to living probate. The judge, let's say let's say you didn't have that in place. It's awesome that you did because it helped your mother end her final days on earth. Okay. Let's say you didn't have that in place. The doctor will tell the health department or whoever the powers that be are in the state, and they will recommend you to the court. Okay. Living probate. That only happens if these things are not properly in place. And then once you get to probate, living probate, the judge decides everything. And this is how it works. Like for me, I could go in and fill out a form and volunteer to be a guardian. Okay. And then I would go into the court proceedings and wait for these type of cases to come up. And the judge would say, okay, are there any guardians in the court? Oh yeah, Mr. Sen, I'm going to assign you to this family. You know what that means for you, Lisa? I make all the decisions about your mom. You can't have anything to do with it whatsoever.
Right.
And they give me access to all of her finances and money, and I get to pay myself out of it.
Really?
Sounds like conflict of interest. Sounds like, I try to teach people this and I'll say, so the judge doesn't know your mom, right? And people say no. So the judge is going to make some very serious decisions about who makes all the decisions about your mom, and down to what doctor she sees, where she lives. She'll no longer have the ability to vote. She has her driver's license is taken away, or identity. I mean, all of these things happen in this legal process. And if people would have the ability to go to an attorney and have them teach them this, attorneys don't teach this. They just recommend, oh, you need a power of attorney, or you need a trust, or you need a will. What I do on a daily basis is help talk through conversations like you and I are having, and you're learning stuff even though you went through it. You know what I mean? So people they put these laws in place and give you the ability, and they give tools and other things that you can do to avoid all of this. And it blows my mind on a daily basis that the majority of people have no clue of this information. And they just know bits and pieces, and they think that's all they need. And it's so far from the truth. But that's what happens. You go through living probate. If you wouldn't have had those documents in place, you would have had to go through living probate, and you would have lost all ability to control anything. Okay. Right. So once it starts, you can't get out of it. The state just decides everything. So I mean, I appreciate you sharing that, because it's so important. And now you just learned something because you have kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is where it starts to make sense to learn more, is when people go through experiences like you do. So why do people do wills? Why? Because they want to have security and peace of mind for the exit of their life. They don't think about the living probate part because they don't know. Who's going to take care of me when I can't make my decisions anymore? Who's going to decide? Who's going to do those things? I don't think anybody would want the state to decide on any of that. But that's the law if they don't have things in place. Then if you have, like, let's say, to put a dollar amount on it for assets, the financial side of it, if people have $150,000 or more in assets, and sometimes it's just a house, it makes sense to learn more about a true effective estate plan that you can create, which avoids living probate, death probate, and keeps you in control of absolutely everything, even in incapacity or death. And it blows my mind because lawyers don't teach this. They just tell you what to do. But there's a lot that's missed and left on the table. And even, people like yourself that go through experiences, there's so many things that are learned after. Thank God, at least you had a couple of the minimum things in place. Yeah. There's so many other things that could have happened. Thank God they didn't.
Right. So, but you know what? I didn't know what to do after. I didn't know I had to do something different after. I thought if I had those two things, I would be okay. But the thing is, the minute she passed, all her assets froze. So, so.
Yeah. Do you know how that happens? You want more knowledge?
Yeah, the funeral home turns in her death, her social security number, to whoever, and says she's no longer living. And they freeze anything that has to do with that social security number.
That's right. There's a national website that when basically a coroner or a funeral home deems somebody dead and the death certificate is created, they get entered into this system. And every organization in the planet that has anything to do with assets or money is like a bank, okay? Yeah. Is in that organization. So they come in the next day, boom, email, so-and-so has passed, all accounts are frozen.
Yeah,
That's how it
that
happens.
happened.
Yep, it
Yep.
happens. And if you don't
That
have all the
happened.
stuff in place with a plan, you can't even access those assets. You can't do anything with it. And if
Yeah.
you have a will, you have to go get an attorney and file a petition for probate and go through probate, which takes 9 to 15 months. All assets are frozen. And then the judge decides everything. Pay
Yeah.
off creditors, do all this stuff, and then whatever's left goes to the surviving family or the wishes to the will.
Right.
So
Yeah.
all
So
that
that
can be
happened.
provided. Yeah,
There's
that's how
like,
it happens though. They have a national, I forget what it's called, death index database, they call it.
well, some of her creditors don't have that. And still, I don't know,
Yeah.
3 years later, they're still sending me credit card bills or something that she owes.
Well,
for
only
her
the
hearing
important,
aid.
like only the important institutions, federal, state, banks, different things like that, that literally control us.
Yeah.
Though they're the ones who are notified.
Right. Yeah. So she has $1,600 in her bank account. It's going to
Still
cost me
there.
what, $600 to hire an attorney to get probate to what, and that's going to take 9 to 15 months. Is that what you said? To
Not
go?
on something like that.
Yeah.
That's just
No.
a form an attorney has to file
Yeah.
with the probate court, but it's $600.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's not, I'm just going to leave it there. But had I
Which
known
happens to a
beforehand,
lot of people. They just leave it.
yeah. Had who knows where it's going to go, right? I mean, I don't know.
Well, the government's going to get it. They're going to
Yeah.
take it.
They are. Had I known sooner about this part, I mean, I knew everything I needed while she was living, but I didn't know about this. So it's more work than it's worth it. And I don't even know, she doesn't have a will. This is her last $1,000, and I don't know who her closest blood relative is, nor do I want to go find out who that is. So,
Well, I'll share with you. She said she didn't have a will. It only makes sense to have a will and an estate plan if people really have, like in Wisconsin, the threshold says $50,000 or more.
oh yeah.
Okay. So, but the reality is for people to have a complete plan protecting investments and avoiding probate and all that stuff and a house and assets, you really need 150 or more, even though the probate law says 50,000 in Wisconsin. The reality of it is they don't want you in probate if you have less than 150,000. Why would you guess? They can't make any money.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of business already. But for people that have less than that, they need at least to have a will and powers of attorney, durable powers of attorney, healthcare and financial. Okay, there's 3 different types of powers of attorney. Durable ones are the only ones that are worth anything. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if somebody, like in the case of your mother, it sounds like she really didn't have any assets. She should have had a will and at least those 2 other things in place. Sounds like you had the powers of attorney in place, but not the will. If people die without a will when they pass, it's the state law calls it intestate. You die intestate, which means you don't have any will, you don't have any wishes, you don't have any instructions, nothing, which basically gives the state the power to decide on anything that's left to deal with like the $1,600 or anything else. They're basically just going to take it.
Yeah.
And they're the
Yeah,
only
my
ones
grandma-
that get to decide anything about it, which is called dying intestate. They've got a plan for you.
Yeah. Actually, it is possible that my grandma has a will, but somewhere along the shuffle, it may
Yeah.
not have made it. However, my grandma told me next to her bed in the middle, in the little wooden box, everything that she wanted when she passed away was in that little box. I tried to say, Grandma, I don't really think that's legal to write something on a piece of paper and put it in a little box. However,
It's not.
It could be, but I couldn't even find the wooden box by that time, nor could I find her will, which I think kind of got lost in the shuffle. But with $1,600, it's not worth it, but had I known before, I might have made different, some different decisions.
Well, I'm sorry to hear, obviously, your mom passing. She had a long, great life. I'm also sorry to hear that you are a victim of a lot of the same stuff that other people are. I mean, you just don't have the information. Looking back, you probably, now that you've gone through some of this, you're like, oh, if I could have handled it this way, or if I would have known this, or, whatever, you probably would have made had your mom maybe make some different decisions, to be prepared. Because attorneys, what people do, people go, they just break down and go, okay, we need to get our affairs in order. They end up going to an attorney because the information is hard to find. It's hard to find the complete information, then understand it. So people, and then they also don't want to talk about this stuff. They don't want to talk about death. So they end up breaking down, going to the attorney and say, yeah, we've been thinking about settling our affairs and getting a will. Oh, sure, I can help with that. They end up charging you. They give you the will, but they never say, by the way, what are you trying to accomplish with the will? Well, I want to make it easy on my family. I want to stay in control of things. I want my affairs to be finished and taken care of easily. Well, a will goes to probate. It makes everything complicated and risk and take time, and assets are frozen. And the reality is there's laws in place to make that happen, but there's also things in place that people can bypass all of that, stay in control of everything, have everything in a plan. And then like the product and service that I represent, we were talking about.
Yeah.
They even do settlement services included in the plan. What does that mean? So like if, let's say there's a husband and wife, the husband, I always pick on them. He dies first. If they have a plan with us, she calls us and we send an agent and they help them learn and understand everything they have to settle out, and they help them do it.
Oh, okay.
It's done easy, quick, complete, correct, closes any other unintended consequences. Okay. Attorneys don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't do that. And not only do they not do that, they don't even educate people on, hey, when you get a plan together, let me ask you something. Do you think something in life might change between now and when you die? Well, yeah, you got to keep your plan updated. You got to have the ability to do that. So when that life event happens, you have everything in place and detailed out to control and be in charge, and have everything happen the way that you want it to. And that's why I'm passionate, and I appreciate you taking time to share your story, because people need to hear this stuff. 80% of the people I talk to have no clue that a will guarantees that you go to probate.
Right.
They think it's all they need to settle everything out. And actually
next week they're going to go. Yeah. Next week they're going to go and have the settlement. Here's your gold. Here's your silver. This is your.
It is nothing chair. Like that.
Yeah.
It is nothing like that. And the attorneys, the court, they call it administration fees. They all get paid out of it in the process of probate. So they get part of the estate that you would have wanted to go on to your children or somewhere else. And whatever's left ends up going to them. So it's something for you to consider, when you get to that point or whenever that you have some assets and you want to make it easier on your kids, you want to be able to have a plan in place so they can control everything and keep it all private.
Right.
You decide what you do then.
Right. That's a much better idea.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate you sharing the story and talking through it. I mean, did you learn anything today?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome. You learned that you got to get an estate plan in order.
I know. Well, you know what? It's not a bad idea. I mean, people like stuff done for them. Like, I don't, someone who's a professional that knows what they're doing, and take that on and help you through your way. That's great. Everybody has something they're good at.
Well, we get one chance at getting it right. Most people, like I tell them, you got to hope to run into somebody like me that knows it, the information, cares, and is willing to share the information without selling you on a product.
Right.
Oh, you need a will. Okay. Why? what is it going to do? You know, for anybody watching this, if you want to know what a will, pick up a phone, talk to an attorney, ask them, what does a will do? And you will immediately learn what you thought about wills is completely wrong. The opposite.
Right. Yeah.
But thank God you at least had your powers of attorney in place.
Yeah.
And
That was good.
nothing else got more complicated before she passed.
She was a non-complicated person because she had lived so long. She lived through her assets. When you die, when you're, she was 5 days from 99. When
Wow.
you live, I know, when you live through your assets, there's nothing left. So she
Oh,
lived a great life. Um, but that's not the case. We have car accidents and people. I met somebody the
right.
other day, his wife had a heart attack at 47 in his living room, so
Yeah.
nobody expects that. So, and another thing is you can call a lawyer, but they don't really have time to talk to you. They're busy doing all their work. So, to have somebody to speak to and talk about this and how it works and get educated is a big plus.
To understand it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's my
Yeah,
big push every day. How many people can I talk to in a daily basis just to help educate? And then they can decide what's best for them. You know,
right.
that's the whole key to this is getting people the information so they can decide.
Right.
But well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk. And stick around here for a minute. I'm going to hit end record here and then we can
Okay.
talk some more. Thanks,
All right.
Lisa.
All right. Yes, Spencer. We'll see.